All right, let's try this again. The last recording just sort of stopped for no reason. Love technology when it doesn't work. Um, yeah, I was just thinking about the idea of smart in itself. I once got asked the question by Don Norman. I had this concept for a smart library for universities and sort of college students or university students who would would effectively be able to navigate better. They'd be able to find what they're looking for in the library, beyond the library catalog. And I called it the Smart Library, and I went to Microsoft Research to present it. And I remember at this event, Don Norman sort of asking me, like, he's the usability king. He was just like, what exactly makes it smart? And I was so stumped by that question. I was just like, you give something a name and you really have to stand by it. So I think I've always been slightly not allergic to the kind of phrase smart, but I'm curious how when we sort of talk about something being smart, do we want to kind of clarify what we mean by those smarts, especially like in the age of AI, right, where we assume a level of kind of human intelligence mimicry from the interfaces that we. I suppose if you were to take away an entire interface, what are you actually left with? What kind of thing are you wanting to achieve? Like, it goes back to the use case, doesn't it? What are you doing when you're on a motorcycle, I suppose? What are you trying to kind of achieve?
That's it. The thing that sort of came to mind when you were talking then was, are you familiar with the gauge in the McLaren 720S?
No, I
So
can't say that I
it's
am.
it's
Let me
this sort
let me
of
just
10
Google
inch
it.
screen, but when you put the car into race mode, it then rotates 90 degrees. So instead of having all of the
Am I looking at the right thing?
telemetry, there's a small sort of then like rev counter essentially on the top, like
Right.
leading edge.
Yes.
Um,
Which of these
So
am I
yeah,
looking at?
those are all of it.
Yeah,
But if you click on that one that your mouse is just hovering over there,
this one. Yeah,
go up one,
that one.
that one. Yeah, so you'll see on that top leading edge, just
Mm-hmm.
slightly, there's a on the actual like Alcantara almost.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
There's like a slight black thicker line, and that
Okay.
in,
Right.
that in itself is like a recessed screen. So the whole screen rotates 90 degrees when you go into race mode, so it gets rid of all the clutter for you, and all you have is then just the revs.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Right. So, I think that's a really interesting concept in itself because um, a contextual sort of interface is, the holy grail, really, where the interface itself sort of changes to adapt to whatever sort of condition that you're um, using that sort of product in. I suppose I'm sure there are lots of patents in relation to how things sort of reconfigure in relation to there, but actually physically making something like that move is really quite interesting as well. So I suppose what you're saying is that in that experiential sort of setting, you kind of need to look at the use case and how someone is using something in order to be able to figure out how it can be smart, right? Because something that's smart in one context is completely dumb in a different context, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because part of me was then thinking, I don't know if you've seen either of the new Can-Am electric motorcycles, but they've got these beautiful, large, like 10-inch flat screen displays, which are
Right.
nice, but they're absolutely massive. So I'm
Right.
then thinking, like, if you're commuting through London, like this
What's
summer
the?
I've been to,
Can you remember? Can you tell me the name again so I can type it in? So
so
it's
if you put in Can-Am,
Can
Canam, and
yeah
then if you put in Pulse,
Pulse.
um, like handlebars or something like that.
Right. Screen handlebar. Right. Right. Okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah, so that top left
Oh.
image there. So as far as motorcycles go, that's a pretty big screen.
I
um,
mean,
it's like it looks cool, but then
does
I just
it?
think like,
Does it? That looks mental.
but again, the Pulse is supposed to be a commuter bike. So if you're
Yeah.
commuting and you've got traffic, you've got pedestrians, you've got all sorts going on, and then you've got a massive screen, is that not sort of overly distracting.
Luke, that is crazy distracting if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
But then again, if it's in your peripheral vision and you're not actually paying attention to it, then you could potentially use it in some kind of, some other context. Do you know, so this is going back a bit, but I had this really random interaction with my God, what's his name? Guy. What's the famous motorcycle rider guy who does
Guy
this?
Martin.
Guy Martin. Why did his second name? We literally did a special with him on a TV show. But yeah, Guy Martin. I asked him the question like about HMIs of these sort of racing sort of specials that he has, and he basically said, "I don't see anything when I'm riding at that speed."
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think it was nice to hear it from him directly, like because sometimes we consider like what is someone actually looking at,
Yep.
and they can't
Have you
see so
ever
much.
have you ever seen onboard footage of a rider going around the Isle of Man?
No, that's
It's frightening.
seriously.
I I watched last year, I think it was. I went to the Motorcycle Live, and Peter Hickman was there with BMW, and he did a commentary of his record-breaking lap.
Right.
And he's doing sometimes 140, 170 miles an hour through towns and villages where there are
Seriously.
flint walls and things that he's brushing his shoulder on, and you just think it's absolutely mental that they can, do that sort of thing. So then,
Okay.
to your point, I'm not surprised in the slightest that when they're doing those sorts of things that
I mean,
they're not looking at
even
their
the
telemetry.
thumbnail there looks pretty mental, really.
Yeah.
Wowzers. Okay, I take your point. I might have to actually watch some of those just for a bit of excitement. Um,
Mm.
that's crazy.
What's interesting there as well is in MotoGP they are looking to introduce team radio.
Right,
So
right.
up until now, obviously Formula One, like if you watch a race, you'll constantly have the back and forth between the driver and the pit wall.
Sure.
Whereas in MotoGP, you have the pit board, which comes out once a lap when you pass the start finish straight,
Right.
and they've recently introduced you get a little message on your screen, so they can change that. But
Sure.
beyond that, you can't talk with the rider or to the engineers.
Right, right.
But they're looking to introduce like the actual verbal communication from a safety perspective.
Oh, I
But
see.
again, this is
Okay.
interesting. Again, is like when you're traveling at those sorts of speeds, is that actually safe for the riders to be distracted in that way? And have that in area where their maximum focus is on riding.
I see your point. Yeah, absolutely. Look, these are all really important sort of topics as designers. You can't overlook the experience and the effects of the sort of characteristic properties of the things that you implement. So uh, it's funny when you get people from other disciplines sort of coming into your discipline. There's so much to learn. So I'm just endlessly fascinated by all these possibilities as a kind of an interaction designer to try and look at these from different perspectives. But more importantly, it's just how much you just don't know, how much you don't realize. And I think obviously before your Apple Watch, you've maybe seen had some played with somebody else's, but there is definitely something about actually experiencing something yourself that allows
Mm.
you to form a better rounded sort of opinion. And that comes back to my original point about the Jag rebrand. The people I just don't think they're entitled to talk about something unless they've got some level of experience of it. Potentially, I mean that's just my kind of, or if
Mm.
they are, at least constructively channel it. If you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say
Well said.
it.
The way I was going to bring it full circle was about Apple again,
Yeah.
and how Apple did recent updates. I think it was last year on CarPlay, and how you could then customize your display to show the telemetry and things that you wanted.
Yes.
But again, I think it's very well and easy to say, this is the best solution, but one size doesn't fit all. And I think that's where Apple could really come into their own, where if you can tailor your user experience whilst driving to show you the information that's most important to you, then everyone gets like the optimum driving or riding experience.
Absolutely love that. That's a nice bit to sort of end it on. Luke, thank you so much. Usually we do like two topics, but we've
We
enjoyed like
went deep
talking
dive
about.
on that
Yeah,
one.
but that's really cool. And we didn't even talk about the immersive learning experience, which sounds crazy. What's an immersive learning interface? Who knows? but but
That's learning spaces,
but
yeah.
it's actually really interesting just to talk about one thing. It's giving us a random topic, and we're just talking about that one thing. So I'd definitely like to do this again if you're up for it. It's
Absolutely.
quite
I
quite
think,
an
yeah,
interesting sort of juxtaposition of our kind of experiences. But yeah, and if we change the format up as well, I'd definitely welcome your views on what we could add to it, and what we could do to make it more interesting. LinkedIn, funnily enough, has a 15-minute limit on videos that you post.
oh,
So
really?
so this little gap might mean that we could actually post it on LinkedIn.
That'd
Um,
be cool.
but I'm up to Yorkshire. I'm heading up to Yorkshire in just like 20 minutes or so. So I might not be able to post this now, but when we do post it, we'll try and stitch the two together and we'll put it on YouTube. So, Luke,
Sounds
thanks
good.
very much, and let's do this again. It was fun, and maybe do like a three-way where Tim's in it as well. That would be an
Yeah,
interesting one.
that'd be great. But no, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for the
Awesome.
invitation. It's
Thank
been
you.
fun.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a nice day. See you.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Bye. Bye.